I just want to take this opportunity to give you an honest insight into my career, and hopefully become a connection as well for anyone who wants to pursue journalism, or who wants to pursue anything to do with storytelling, etc., because connections are really important, and I'll come on to that a little bit later. So firstly, my motivations for becoming a journalist, we'll start off with that. So I studied journalism at the University of Gloucestershire, and having done my degree, I realised it wasn't enough to be able to get a job within the creative industry field, certainly in the journalism world, but more so kind of now looking at things like, experience, where can I get some skills to be able to report, to write, to get my work published. So I looked into local news and local radio stations. I'm from Bristol, so I looked at any local radio station. So I've done some voluntary work with various news outlets that were local, and kind of just ticked it off as I went along. But then it kind of struck me. I thought, I'm doing all this, but I feel like there is a barrier, and that barrier is 1, being black, and 2, being Muslim, and 3, having my hijab on. And those 3 things, kept echoing throughout my career. And, I, alhamdulillah, was fortunate to apply for a scheme, and I'll come on to that a little bit later, but I applied for a journalism trainee scheme at the BBC and got into the world of journalism through there, and started for the World Service, where I trained initially for 12 months in radio, online and TV, and then slowly making connections and working with different departments to see, what I can bring. And so there's really no, again, going back to being a Muslim and wearing a hijab, I think at that time there wasn't many people or many Muslim women who were on screen wearing a hijab. I remember Fatima Manji on Channel 4, she's a newsreader, and she had a hijab on, and I thought, what, I'm gonna try my best to be like her and see what happens. So so I just kind of carried on, and basically there's no kind of real way to, the world of journalism is massive, but one thing I'd say is I basically went into it thinking it was going to be, I've done my degree, I've done my experience, I've done everything I could, surely that should be enough. I'm going to get myself a senior role, and I'm going to influence change, and I'm going to make sure that other Somali Muslim females or women, are able to come in quite easily and be taken for the skills that they have. And so that's one thing that still I think about every day. And yes, one thing I would also add is make sure that you're kind of always remember why you started something. So reason I wanted to become a journalist was to be a voice for the Somali community, for the Black Muslim community, to represent and be, telling their positive stories, because I always saw negative stories online, and we all know how damaging the news and headlines can be. So I just wanted to be able to take a part in uncovering all the stories and great stuff that people in our community do. And alhamdulillah, everything that I've done, I've always, put my trust in Allah and just made sure that I stay true to who I am and what I represent. And so it's not easy to get, unlike other career fields and other subjects, journalism doesn't have a linear structure to get to a senior role. So often you find yourself going in circles and facing a lot of challenges and a lot of barriers. And so it's not been easy, and it's still not easy, but I think connections is key. So myself, I have been fortunate to connect with other Somali sisters who I work with at the BBC. We often inspire each other, we empower each other, we always remind each other why we're doing this, which is to make change, to take the step, and if you don't like something, you know, speak up and play your part in at least trying to make a difference. And we have been sharing with each other when there's editorial meetings going on in the BBC, when there are sessions with senior editors. You can voice your ideas and you can voice your initiatives and things that you want to start doing within the BBC. So we've been fortunate to remind each other of those and go to those. So at the moment, I am based in Bristol at the BBC Bristol department here, where I work on the online page. So I produce content for their kind of live blog and the actual kind of Bristol Index website. So it's not easy. It's been, you find yourself pitching a story, and Bashir was fantastic in demonstrating that presentation, which really outlined all the skills and all the things to be aware about and all the tips. But one thing I'd strongly advise is the connections that you have with people like myself who are journalists within not just the BBC but also Channel 4. And social media is a great tool. It's a fantastic tool to be able to reach out to people, literally just send them a pitch, send them a message. You'll be surprised how many people get back to you and, you know, are happy to take on your story or at least give it a go and, you know, give you feedback. So those are my tips. And I just want to kind of say, when you see so many people like everyone here today, it really is touching and inspiring, just to know that how many of us are breaking boundaries and succeeding. So it's important to stay connected, and yes, just always remember kind of where you come from, what your ambitions are, what drives you. For me, it's certainly my religion and my family, and also just my drive to be able to make a difference in the way that stories are told within the Somali and within the Black and the Muslim community, and just, you know, make our stamp and sit our seat at the table.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me.